and welcome back to another episode of the Pop Astrology Podcast. My name is Jessie Peterson, and I am your host. Today, I'm going to talk about Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, Hailey Bieber, Benny Blanco, the love square that's sweeping the nation. I'm going to talk about Selena and Justin's birth charts individually. Selena's synastry. Synastry is like the astrology of relationships. It's my specialty. The synastry between Selena and Justin. The synastry between Justin and Hailey. The synastry between Selena and Benny Blanco. And then the synastry between Selena and Hailey, because I'm a lesbian and I encourage girl kissing activities on this podcast. Lots to come. These are very interesting birth chart examples. So I was actually really excited when I was doing my research about how many fun things I get to cover with you. But before we start that, here's the news for the week. I got laid off. I got laid off. I got laid off almost exactly 2 years after I got laid off the last time. And all I've got to say about it, really, well, not all I've got to say, but the thing I most want to say about it is that spring is the best time to get laid off. It is like, if you want to be fun employed, summer is absolutely the time to be fun employed. Hot girl summer plus not having a job equals the best time of your whole entire life. So I'll start there. I'm really excited. But second of all, my team director, first of all, sent an email to my whole entire team and told them that I got laid off before I'm gone. Like, before, it's not like you're laid off and then after I'm gone. Like, you've probably noticed Jessie's gone. No, literally the day I get laid off, sends an email to the whole team. Jessie got laid off. Humiliating. Like, can you let me tell people myself? Like, I don't even want to tell people. I want to vanish. I want to disappear under mysterious circumstances. And then one day they're like, oh, where's that girl? Where did Jessie ever go? I wonder what happened to her. She was gorgeous. And I say this, but I actually don't think that I mean it, because I actually do like when people are forced to think about me. And so I do like having an email sent to the whole team telling them something about my life. But like, maybe you should have let me write it, because I would have embellished some details here and there. Do what I do best. Anyway, then the leader of my team sends me an email and he starts it off with, "Hi, Jessie. I know these are unusual times." Unusual? These are unusual. What's unusual about them? Tell me. Like, I'm just really, really sick of this, like, people not being honest with me. I'm really sick of people like using euphemisms when we both know what's actually going on. Like, there's nothing to hide from me. I know that Trump is the president. Like, I know that he's put tariffs on everything and like already destroying the economy. So like, can you tell me what's unusual about it? Because it doesn't feel unusual. Like, I got laid off 2 years ago. Was that unusual times as well? As a millennial, has my whole entire life been unusual times? Like, this isn't unusual. Just be like, hey, Jessie, the economy's in the toilet because I voted for a madman and he is in the highest office in the country and he's destroying everything. And oops. Anyway, no, it's just unusual times. That's it. That's all there is to say. I couldn't respond. I honestly haven't responded to anyone who's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm not. Why are you sorry? I actually don't believe that you're sorry. Or maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe you have a stronger conscience than me, or you don't realize like how much I thrive when I'm unemployed. Because I've been trying to start up my astrology business and do readings, which you can book on popastrologypod.com, and to like actually work on this podcast. And I haven't, like, I've been doing it with training wheels, and I've been like, oh yeah, I'm going to start my business, but I'm still going to have my job on the side just so that I have a steady stream of income and I can make sure that nothing bad ever happens to me. But sometimes if you want to succeed in this lifetime, you need to take a leap, and then you need to trust that the ground is going to be there when you land. And this is one of those times. I can't like take a leap, but be attached to a bungee cord that will safely return me to where I leapt from in case there's no ground at the end. So anyway, I'm unemployed and I'm incredibly happy about it. Moving on. I'm really scared of straight people. I was on Reddit the other day, and I mostly stay in gay spaces on Reddit, specifically like the Yellow Jackets subreddit and the Gaylor subreddit. But I also belong to a couple of subreddits like Ask Women Over 30, mostly because people are always posting. They're like, I am with the most amazing man in the whole entire world. Literally no one's ever been as good as him, but he has never, ever said that he loves me. And he poops on the floor and he makes me clean it up and he makes me get a toothbrush and scrub out all the poop out of the grout. And he does this once a week, but he says that it's normal. He says that other guys do way worse stuff. What do I do about this? And I get to comment, break up with him. And I just go on like every post in the subreddit and I just comment, break up with him. Break up with him. Become a lesbian. It's way better. But anyway, I was on there the other day and I saw this post and women were talking about like how much they love when their boyfriend gets boners from looking at them. And I was like, oh my God, I feel completely the opposite way. Like, I think that boners are honestly really gross. I think it's like one of the worst parts about being a man probably is that when you get sexually excited, like everyone knows your business. If I get sexually excited, no one knows about it. I'm very good at covering it up unless I want them to know about it. But with a man, like I used to come downstairs from my office to go into the kitchen to get a little snack in the morning. And my boyfriend would come out of his office and give me a hug. And in the hug, one single hug, I could feel his boner. It's like 10 in the morning. And I'm just like, no wonder men are so bad at intimacy because they can't do anything. They can't even hug you without dick turning on, and then dick's turning on, and now I can't think about anything except sex, you know? And it's just like, but what if I wanted to do couples acro yoga and I didn't, and you have to wear these tight little shorts so that they don't fall down and no one can see your ball sack, but now you're wearing these tight little shorts and everyone can see that you have a fucking boner just because you saw my butt in yoga pants. Like, what are you even supposed to do? I can't believe that not everyone is a lesbian. But I'm here to say that it is okay to be heterophobic because people have been and continue to be homophobic for many, 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 many decades and centuries and millennia. And it's our turn, baby. I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm going to hate on boners all I want. Unless the boner is attached to a gay man, in which case I completely support it. Also, a trans woman, anyone else who's queer and has a penis, you can have a boner. But if you're a straight man and you're getting a boner from looking at a woman, just looking at her, just a touch, a whisper, a breeze, and that you're ding-a-ling, boing, 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 you should be in prison. And that's what I have to say about that. I think that's all. Okay, we can move on to Selena and Justin and Hailey and Benny. This is Selena Gomez's birth chart. She was born on July 22nd, 1992 at 7:19 a.m. in Grand Prairie, Texas. July 22nd is the last day of Cancer season, so you'll see that she has her sun at the 29th degree of Cancer. In astrology, there are 2 degrees that are considered critical: the 0th degree of each sign and the 29th degree of each sign. The wheel of the zodiac is a wheel that goes around the earth. And so your rising sign is where in the zodiac the sun is rising at the time and place that you're born. Since the zodiac is a wheel, since it is a circle, since it has 360 degrees and is divided into 12 different signs, each one of those signs has 30 degrees. It starts at 0 and it ends at 29. The 30th degree is the 0 degree of the next sign. So when someone has a placement at the 0 degree, that placement signifies action. It's like you came into the world. It's just like a little bit of Aries energy in whatever placement it is. You came into this world and you were ready for action in that thing. In my Kesha episode, I talked about she has a 0 degree Sagittarius rising. So I talked a little bit about rising at 0 degrees. If that is a placement that you or a loved one have, I recommend checking out that episode. But Selena is interesting, and Selena, Justin, and Hailey actually all have planets at the 29th degree of a sign, which is called the anaretic degree. The word anaretic comes from the Greek word anareta, which means destroyer. And placements at the anaretic degree or the 29th degree are usually considered malefic, like they signify endings, they signify closings. And a hallmark of having a placement at the anaretic degree is that you experience that placement in extremes, and it's either too little or too much of a certain thing. So, for example, Selena Gomez has her sun in Cancer at the anaretic 29th degree of Cancer. She's a Leo rising, so this is her 12th house. So it's actually like the last degree of her whole entire birth chart. So that just like really amplifies these effects, which is crazy. But it really does show up in Selena's life, as I'm going to talk about. So if you have an anaretic sun or a sun at 29 degrees of any sign, your ego development, the sun is the ego. The sun is really like who you are, like your essence. So your ego development is a critical mission in your life. In this lifetime, you are put on this earth, and one of the things that you need to do is develop your ego in a healthy way. These people are likely natural leaders. They like to be at center stage, and in this lifetime, they need to master their authentic self-expression. In order to do this, life is going to put challenging and karmic situations into your life as you progress on this path, just to challenge you, because you're not going to develop a healthy ego if you don't go through some shit. And I mean, that's really what astrology is. Like, it shows you all the things that you need to go through and all of the hardships that you need to endure and all of the areas where you're going to experience hardships, but that will lead to your experience of growth as well, because you don't grow unless you deal with some hard shit. And unfortunately, we would all love to live a beautiful and perfect and easy life, but that's just not how the cookie crumbles, as they say. The sun is also your vital energy. So people with the sun at an anaretic degree will either exert too much energy into this lifetime or like not have enough energy to exert into this lifetime, which correlates really strongly with Selena having lupus. And I'm not saying that astrology causes chronic illnesses or autoimmune diseases, but astrology has been used for medical purposes for like many, many millennia. If it's not your thing, just don't get into it. But when I had my astrologer tell me, like show me where in my birth chart my struggles with endometriosis showed up, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because you can also see like an end date. You know, you can see how it interplays with other aspects in your chart and like things that you can do to make things better for yourself and things that you can do that would make things worse for yourself, and figure out how to go about it. Very interesting. But I am not saying that Selena Gomez being born at 7:19 a.m. on July 22nd, 1992 caused her to have lupus. Lupus is a chronic autoimmune condition. It basically happens when your body mistakenly targets your own healthy tissues and tries to attack them, and it causes a lot of inflammation and a lot of problems in your body. Lupus causes a whole host of issues. There's infertility problems, but another one of them is chronic fatigue, which really dovetails with having a sun at an anaretic degree, because that is a signification of someone who goes into this world and doesn't have enough energy to, you know, as other people, to keep up with other people. But that's part of your healthy ego development. You have to separate yourself from other people. You have to say, I am not supposed to be able to do as much as other people because I'm not other people, I'm me. And it really helps to build your own sense of self in a healthy way where you're not competing with everyone all the time. I am not quite sure if Selena Gomez is there yet, just based on everything. And just this like whirlwind slipshod engagement to Benny Blanco, who she's been dating for like a year, is not something that I would say like a person with a healthy ego does. I think that she probably has some real codependency issues, and we'll get to more on that in a bit. But I do think that it's going to help her on this path. She's still young. She's 32. She's got so much time. She'll figure it out. Another significator of someone who has an anaretic sun is that someone wants a lot of attention, maybe too much attention. And Selena has been known for, one, being the most followed person and woman in the world on Instagram at different points in time. As of 2017, she was the most followed person in the world. And then she was overtaken by Cristiano Ronaldo. And then as of March 2023, she passed Kylie Jenner in followers on Instagram and reclaimed her title as most followed woman in the world, but is still behind Cristiano Ronaldo, who is literally an abuser, and Lionel Messi. I don't really know anything about him. Sports. She's also had several instances where she said that she's taking a break from Instagram. She's taking a break from social media. She's a Leo Mercury. She's just like very dramatic, but then she comes back like immediately, and it's very much like, yeah, because you need attention because your sun is in this weird place where it struggles. You know, it's a challenging degree. It's a challenging placement to have. And the goal of having that challenge is for you to develop a healthy sense of self and a healthy ego. But along the way, you're going to do too much. You're going to do too little. You're going to want too much attention. It's going to come back to bite you until you're able to achieve the equilibrium that the universe, that this life wants you to have. You're going to veer too far in either direction. This happens to all of us, but it's more pronounced with a difficult placement like this. But regardless of the degree, Selena is still a Cancer sun. And the bright side of Cancer is that these people are really nurturing, and they love to have friends over. They love to bake cookies for them. They're really great with hospitality. They have like a natural maternal instinct to them, and they're very sensitive. They have really strong like intuitive and psychic gifts. And there's the dark side of Cancer, which is someone who's mopey and grouchy and attacks at random, like people who just take things way too personally and get overwhelmed really easily and then take it out on others because they don't know how to manage their own emotions. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon has like two main significations, I would say. The first is that the moon is the fastest moving celestial body. It goes through the whole zodiac, all 12 signs, in about 28 and a half days, switching signs every like 2 to 3 days. Whereas like the sun, Mercury, and Venus sort of move at around the same pace, but like they each take a year to move around the whole zodiac. So it's like less than a month, and then the next shortest is a year. So it's the fastest moving celestial body. So Cancers, they move very quickly. Like their moods can change really quickly, which is why Saturn does really poorly in the sign, because Saturn is like slow and stodgy. And he doesn't like to move fast. He's like, I don't do any of this short-term shit. Like, let me handle long-term goals or else. And the moon also has a dark side. There is a side of the moon that we never see here from Earth because, you know, the moon, the same face of the moon faces us at all times. And so Cancers have secrets. You know, there's the face of the Cancer that we see all the time, but then there's the behind the scenes, the dark side of the moon, where it's what's back there. I don't know. I've never seen it. Have you? Like, probably not. And that's why, I mean, Cancers are a little bit scary to me because most of them have not harnessed this balance. They haven't completely faced their shadow side, and that's what it takes for them to be able to fully integrate and develop into like a whole and healed and healthy person and really embody all of the wonderful positive energies of being a Cancer without dealing with all of the negative stuff. The symbol for Cancer is the crab. And so, of course, crabs, it's a water sign. They're water animals, crustaceans. They have a hard shell that they can retreat inside. So Cancers get really easily overwhelmed and overstimulated. And then instead of actually dealing with those problems, they just run away from them. They just go back into their shell and they hide, and they have pincers, and they randomly are aggressive. And then Cancer is also a cardinal sign. It initiates the season of summer. And so Cancer, while seeming to be, you know, like psychic and intuitive and water and just go with the flow, it has the same energy as Aries and Capricorn and Libra in that it initiates things, it takes action, and it takes charge. So the journey for a Cancer, and specifically the journey that Selena needs to go on in this lifetime, is to learn to protect her sensitivity so that she can use it as a gift and to extend her compassion to others and become the universal nurturing mother. In order to do this, she needs to develop tremendous self-awareness and realize when feelings overwhelm her so that she can not take it personally and not take it out on others, but return to her center and ground herself and calm herself down and then go back out into the world and continue to do what she needs to do. A 12th house sun is an interesting placement, and Selena is not the only celebrity who has a 12th house sun. She is actually joined by several of her peers, including Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Madonna, Mariah Carey, and Rihanna, just as some examples that also have 12th house suns. The 12th house is the last house of the zodiac. So the wheel of the zodiac, it starts with the first house, which is the Aries house, which is like me. And then it goes to the second house, which is money, and on and on and on around the wheel. And then the 12th house is the house of Pisces. And it's like, okay, now we merge with the universe. Like we've done the journey of the self, and what's next? Like the journey of the collective. And so the 12th house is a house of behind the scenes life. It has a lot to do with like hospitals and illness and jails. The 12th house is hidden enemies. And just like a lot of like internal, it's like dreams and your subconscious. The sun doesn't love to be here because the sun is bright and it shines a bright light and it's your ego and it's who you are. And when it's behind the scenes, like it doesn't really get to do what it likes to do. So this can indicate some struggle with self-identity and ego, which is once again amplified tenfold by having it at the 29th degree. People with the sun in the 12th house are very likely to feel a call to merge with something greater than themselves, or a specifically large call to have some sort of spiritual practice. And the reason so many of her peers also have this placement is because these people make great artists. Like they have so many feelings and they need to channel them in like behind the scenes sort of ways that don't involve interacting with other people. And meditation and writing and poetry and art are wonderful ways to do this. As long as they're done in solitude, it fits the theme of a 12th house sun. Because Selena is a Leo rising, the sun is her chart ruler. So everything in her chart, everything on her person is ruled by this sun, which is in an incredibly difficult position. So these difficulties show up everywhere in her life. It's like she can't escape them. And that's probably one of her issues. Like she can't escape it. She will never be able to escape it. It's just who she is. But she keeps running away and trying to find things in specifically different people, like trying to find what she needs in other people and other things, but it's in herself. Like she needs to take the time to work on herself to establish equilibrium so that she can be successful, so that she can have a happy relationship, so that she can do all the things that she wants to do. I just don't think that she's there yet. As you can see, Selena also has her north node at the anaretic degree of Sagittarius, which is her 5th house. The north and south nodes, known as Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology, they really are like your life purpose. When someone comes to me and they're like, I want to know what I'm meant to do in this life, I look a lot at their north and south nodes and then at their sun as well. The south node represents what you did a lot of in your last life, what you were really good at in your last life. Things that you were really good at in your last life, you are naturally inclined to do in this life because we like to do the things that we're good at. We like to do things that come easy to us. It feels like we should be doing the things that we're good at. And that's not always the case. It's not the case. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do the things that you're naturally drawn to and that you're good at, but there is a lot to be said about challenging yourself and taking yourself outside your comfort zone in order to achieve greater things in this lifetime. Something that I really struggle with, but I'm trying to work on and get better at. And I'm sure it's a challenge for others, for you, for Selena Gomez as well. Having the North Node at 29 degrees indicates that your soul wants to focus on your karmic duties in this lifetime. There's a sense of like spiritual urgency and spiritual purpose. It's saying because the 29th degree represents endings, it's like, you've really got to get this done. Like did you know that you have 30 minutes? We need to get it done. Like, this is the whole reason that you're here. This is like very old soul energy. I honestly think this might be her last life. And that might sound dark, but I think it's actually beautiful. whatever. Having your North Node in the 5th house means that you need to move towards 5th house activities and away from 11th house activities. 5th house is the house of sexuality and creative expression. The 11th house is the house of like friendships and community. So moving towards 5th house activities means that she needs to embrace things like being willing to take center stage, focusing on her individuality, following her heart's desires, strengthening her willpower and her enthusiasm and her self-confidence, taking risks, enjoying life and having fun, looking at life as a game and developing and it's up to me and no one else is going to do it for me sort of attitude. So these are things that she probably naturally finds difficult. Being a Leo rising and having a Leo Mercury and having an anaretic sun, like willingness to take center stage, probably really easy for her. But I don't even know if they are so much, because willing to take center stage, but she's putting out the album with her fiancé. Like she is not willing to take center stage unless there's a man behind her, is like the feeling I'm getting. I don't know her, so I don't know. But regardless, I do see her as someone who struggles to define herself outside of others, which is a 11th house activity. And so that's something that she really needs to work on moving away from. Like, I think that, spoiler alert, but I think that she's really going to regret releasing a whole album with Benny about like their love story when they break up in like a year or less. It's like when Ariana Grande released that song called Pete Davidson and then like broke off their engagement literally immediately and then wrote a whole new album about it. But that was just a song. This is an album. It's a whole album. That's a little crazy, girl. Love you. So the 11th house activities that she needs to move away from are yielding to peer pressure in order to feel like you belong, detaching from emotional situations, being aloof, waiting for other people to prompt your own action, waiting for more knowledge before taking action, excessive daydreaming, and running away from confrontations. Having a sun in the 12th house, that excessive daydreaming part is actually really difficult, so good luck there. As a Pisces rising, I don't think that there's anything wrong with daydreaming, but apparently that's what she needs to do in this lifetime. So, but again, these are what she did a lot of in her past life. So it's so easy to go from being not even necessarily a people pleaser, but just like someone who is obsessed with being around other people and like feels a need for external validation and loves to, you know, can only define themselves through other people in your last life and then come into this life and already have all of those skills stored away in your subconscious and then want to try to do them again. But the universe doesn't want you to do the same thing over and over. Like the whole point, if you believe in reincarnation, the whole point of like reincarnation and living multiple lives is that you balance your soul. Like I believe that your soul sees a variety of lives before you choose which life to live and picks one and says, that's what I need to really develop my soul more. And that's where the North Node comes in. You need to move towards these things because you've already done the stuff at your South Node. You did that in your last life. You did that last time. Like, come on, let's try something new. I say this as someone who has literally the worst possible time not doing South Node activities because my South Node is in Gemini and I love information. I love to be on the internet. I love to read. And yeah, that's what we did in the last life. Let's not do it again this time. Haha, I say as I literally do it every single day of my current life. But I'm only 31. Maybe in a decade I'll stop. Because Selena has so much focus on relationships, I really wanted to take a look at her 7th house. The 7th house is the opposite of the 1st house. Aries is the natural sign of the 1st house. Libra is the natural sign of the 7th house. Aries is me. Libra is you. 1st house is me. 7th house is you. And so the 7th house is a representation of one-on-one relationships. So that could be business relationships. It can be platonic relationships. But it specifically is about like marriages and romantic partners. And the 7th house sort of shows how we show up in relationship with other people. Not like what our partners will look like, but how we show up when we are in partnership with other people. because Selena is a Leo rising, her 7th house is Aquarius. I talked about this a little bit in my Mars episode because I used Drake as an example of a 7th house Mars, and Drake is also a Leo rising. Obviously, Selena's manifestation is different than Drake's for obvious reasons, I believe. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and it's the most detached sign of the zodiac. It's the sign that can remove itself from emotion because air signs are all about intellect. And so air signs being Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, can sometimes have a hard time mingling with the earth aspect. Like they have a really hard time grounding and being present. So they can just be a little bit detached and aloof and above it all. People who have Aquarius in the 7th house unconsciously project an image of themselves as a very unique person, and they like to stand out from the crowd. The bright side is that Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, so these people want a long-term, stable partner. They want someone that they can be fiercely loyal to. The downside, though, is that these people tend to be avoidantly attached. They need a lot of space in relationships. They like to maintain an air of mystery. They don't like the idea that someone else knows more about them than they know about that person. So they like to keep things held back, keep things very close to the chest, and not reveal a lot about themselves. And they naturally have great social skills. Air signs are very social, but they feel a little bit like detached and like they never quite fit in. They're fascinated by people who are intelligent, who have something unique about them, and who are hard to read. Which is so interesting. And this happens with every single rising sign because the 7th house is always the opposite sign from your rising. How we experience ourselves, like I'm a Pisces rising. I experience myself as like a little fairy, like floating above it all. And I communicate through dreams and I write poetry and blah, blah, blah. But the way I see myself in relationship with others is the opposite side, which is Virgo. And so in relationship with others, like I see myself as so different than my, like who I view myself as, because Virgos are very like detail oriented and calculating and a little bit critical. And like I see that come up when I'm in a relationship with other people. I like pay attention to little details. And then on the shadow side, I can be a little critical of myself and of them. And so it is so interesting that astrology, and this is one of the things that I really love about astrology, is it shows you your duality. Very, very similar thing with the midheaven and Imam Coeli or IC. There are 4 angles in the chart: your ascendant, your descendant, that's the 1st and 7th house, and then your midheaven, which is like your reputation, and your IC, which is who you are like as a family, like what your family life is like, what your home life is like, where you come from. It's the root of your chart. And these are also opposites because it's 4th house opposite the 10th house. For me personally, as an example, my 4th house is Gemini. I view myself as someone who's a nerd. Like I view myself as someone who is obsessed with data, obsessed with learning information, obsessed with reading, obsessed with taking all the information in that I can possibly get and parsing it. And I come off as a Sagittarius. Like my 10th house is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is so different from Gemini. It's like expansive. It's ruled by Jupiter. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It is travel. It is philosophy. It's yoga. It's everything that Gemini is not. Like Gemini is really obsessed with details and Sagittarius is so big picture. And so I come off, I'm like telling you how I come off. I might be completely wrong, but astrologically, I come off as someone who's like fun and adventurous, and literally I am about to get my yoga teacher training certification. And it's so different from how I feel like I come off, because I feel like I come off as a fucking nerd who's obsessed with information. I could be a Virgo rising and have the exact opposite. I could have a 4th house Sagittarius and feel like I'm cool, but come off like I'm a nerd. There's so much duality in your birth chart, and there's so much duality inside every single one of us. We all have every single sign of the zodiac somewhere in our chart. Even if we don't have planets there, it's there. It exists somewhere. So I think it is so interesting to see where different elements of humanity, of the zodiacal wheel, show up in different places in people's charts. We're all so alike. Like, we are all people. We are all human. We all contain multitudes. And thinking that anyone is like one-dimensional, or thinking that what you see of someone is who they are, will never be true, because there's so much behind the scenes that you don't see. Anyway, back to Selena Gomez. In her 7th house, Selena has her Saturn, which is Saturn in Aquarius, which is Saturn in domicile, because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So Saturn likes to be here. Saturn is also exalted in the sign of Libra. Libra, once again, the natural sign of the 7th house. So Saturn likes to be in the 7th house as well. So very well placed Saturn. Having Saturn in the 7th house, as much as Saturn likes to be here, is not like a great Saturn placement for you specifically if you want like a happy relationship and life, because Saturn in the 7th really offers you an opportunity to understand that the qualities that you seek in a partner can only be found within yourself. You will attract partners who you think you see what you want in them, and then you will experience pain and isolation and breakups, and you will go through heartbreak, etc., until you stop looking for these qualities that you want in others and realize that you have them inside yourself the whole time. That's the lesson of Saturn. I imagine it was much, much harder for her when she was younger, and has gotten easier after her Saturn return, which is in 2022. But I don't think that she is quite dealing with the lessons of Saturn, because she still seems to be seeking things in other people. So she has more learning to do, but it's great. You know, Saturn gets better as you get older. By her second Saturn return, when she's 58, I'm sure she will have this thing down pat. That said, having Saturn in the 7th house can also indicate that the partners that you choose and the one-on-one relationships that you have can be with people who dampen and constrict your dreams and your self-expression. Saturn is boundaries, and these people can impose boundaries on you that prevent you from achieving your goals. So having Saturn in the 7th is honestly a signature of someone who might not even end up in a relationship at all. They might realize that every time they try to get into a relationship, it just holds them down. And so they get to free themselves from feeling the need to be in a relationship at all. Because Saturn moves so slowly, if you have Saturn in the 7th house, you should not jump into relationships. You shouldn't rush relationships. Like, Saturn needs time to build. And their qualities of restriction and, you know, dampening your self-expression aren't going to just like show themselves at the beginning. They're going to take time to come out, which is why it's extra concerning that she got engaged to Benny after like a year to 18 months of dating him, and then immediately released an album about their love story together like 2 months later. That's just like, Saturn is probably glaring at her and being like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? But she'll figure it out. Saturn doesn't glare, actually. Saturn is just like, again? Well, she'll find out later, and then goes about his business being grumpy. I love Saturn. Once you and Saturn work on your relationship, and once you realize that you need to put in the work, and when something bad happens to you, your first reaction is like, rats, I can't believe this bad thing happened. Okay, well, it's time to put in the fucking work. Then Saturn is like, okay, we're cool. You've learned, you know, you're not going to just go hide under your covers and be like, wake me up when things are good again, because that's when Saturn is going to come and kick your ass. Selena was born with Mercury retrograde in Leo, directly opposing her Saturn in Aquarius. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. It actually stationed direct today, April 7th, very exciting times. Mercury is no longer in retrograde. But because Mercury goes retrograde so frequently, about 18% of the population is born with Mercury in retrograde. It's not a bad thing. It can have some negative significations, but it can also have positive significations. Some of the positive significations are that these people are very like acute communicators. Like, they collect information really clearly, and they know how to express themselves pretty cleanly. The downside is that expression can be taken the wrong way by people, or they can feel like the words that they say are never really understood by other people. retrograde is about like going back and looking back at things that you've done. And so these people can spend a lot of time in their lifetimes reviewing the things that they've said and double checking. They often don't say things unless they've really thought about them. But Selena is a Leo Mercury, which is very like performative and likes to be in the spotlight. So I think that for her, it might manifest more as saying things and then looking back on them later and being like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Her Mercury opposing her Saturn is also very interesting because it's similar to Mercury retrograde in that it indicates someone who has the maturity in their communications that Saturn gives, someone who really thinks before they speak. And her Mercury is in Leo though, and Mercury in Leo is someone who's like persuasive and has a flair for drama and loves to have center stage and is an authoritative speaker. Like she probably has a crazy inner dialogue. Like the things she posts, like a lot of stuff on social media, but that's like a fraction of what she has inside herself that she wants to say, because she has this Saturn opposition to her Mercury being like, think before you speak. And then I would actually love to see her close friend story. And I would love to see all the posts that she writes and then like deletes before she posts them, because I'm sure there's some really juicy stuff in there. Both of these planets form a T-square with her Pluto in Scorpio, which just connects all of these items. When three planets or more or less are in aspect, it means that those parts of your life are connected. And so her first house, Mercury in Leo, her seventh house, Saturn in Aquarius, and her fourth house, which is the house of like home and family and your origins, Pluto in Scorpio, are all connected. So the way that she speaks and the way that she thinks before she speaks and manages her speech are connected with her personal journey of inner transformation. There's a lot of internal struggle here. So I think that every time she has this dialogue between the Mercury and the Saturn sides of herself, it helps her understand who she is a little bit better. Pluto really digs beneath the surface, like it is things that are unseen and intangible. And every time you reckon with yourself a little bit and realize a little bit more of who you are authentically, that is a Pluto change. And I think that this is really like a beautiful story. This is part of why I love astrology, is because you start digging and then you really see the story play out. And why I like celebrity astrology is you can see the story play out in their birth chart and then apply it to how their public life has been. But we don't know anything about their private life. Like I don't know who Selena Gomez is beyond the surface, or Justin Bieber or Hailey Bieber, etc. Interesting. I would love to ask her like a few questions. She also has Lilith in her seventh house. I love Lilith. Some astrologers don't look at Lilith at all, but I think it's like paramount. It's the dark feminine, sort of. And so I love everything that's dark feminine or like shadow side. So Lilith is not a celestial body in astrology. It's the dark moon. We can get into a little geometry math lesson here, but the moon moves in an elliptical orbit around the earth. And when there's an ellipse, because it's like oblong, has two focal points inside of it. And one of those focal points is the earth. And so the other focal point inside the ellipse, which is nothing, it's just space, is called Lilith. It's a mathematical calculation, but it does represent the darkness. It represents the side of the moon that we don't see. And so Lilith is like the dark feminine. It's your shadow side. It's the dark things about yourself that are hard to look at, but are such an important part of yourself. So Selena having her Lilith in her seventh house of relationships, I feel like makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of her own shadow there, clearly, that she's not willing to look at. And that's why she does the projection onto people she's in relationship with. People with Lilith in the seventh house have probably dealt with narcissists a lot in their lifetimes. They're people who probably have a tainted view of love and relationships. They love to reject people, but rightfully so, because a lot of the people who court them just want to use them. These are people who don't have that many standards, which is why they have so much experience dating. But they realize over time that they only feel safe settling down with someone once they see their imperfections, once they see their shadow, because then they're like, okay, now we both have shadows, so we can be together, which can create a little bit of like a toxic codependent relationship, honestly, because you're like, well, we're both toxic, we can be toxic together. And it's like, no, you should actually be with someone who you both are like the best versions of yourself with. But once again, a lesson learned in time. But these are people who really, they hate superficiality, and they feel like they can only be in relationship with someone who's just as damaged as they are. That's all I have to say about Selena Gomez's birth chart. Now we can look at Justin Bieber's birth chart. Justin Bieber was born on March 1st, 1994 at 12:56 a.m. in Stratford, Ontario, Canada. He is a Pisces sun, a Libra moon, and a Scorpio rising. One of the ideas behind synastry is that different people are brought into your life to activate, stimulate, impact different placements in different areas in your chart. This is one of the reasons why people are like, oh, well, if two twins are born at the exact same time and they have the same birth chart, then how could they live different lives? Like, astrology is clearly fake. And it's like, do those two twins have the same relationships with people throughout their lives? Probably not. Like, one twin has one romantic partner who has a Scorpio sun, and then the other twin has a different romantic partner, or a best friend, or a teacher that is really impactful to them, or a mentor who has a Pisces sun. And those hit different parts of their birth chart, so they develop or spotlight different areas in their life at different times. So every person who comes into your life ultimately does serve a real purpose in your life to activate different parts of your birth chart in different ways. So it's interesting, but not surprising to me that Justin Bieber also has an anaretic placement. Both Selena and Justin have stories that are going to be endings in their life that they need other people to help complete, and they needed each other. Justin Bieber has his rising at 29 degrees Scorpio, the anaretic degree of Scorpio. And when people have a rising at an anaretic degree, it usually means that they were born into a like crisis situation, whether that's, you know, born into a family that was in crisis, or born in a war zone, or even had just a birth that was really difficult. And so as soon as I saw this placement, I looked up Justin Bieber's like early childhood life, and I saw that both of his parents were 18 when he was born, and his father left his mother like very shortly after. His mom was a single mother taking care of him. They lived in low-income housing. She worked multiple low-paying jobs to get by. So yeah, Justin was born into a little bit of a crisis situation. I saw it. I was like, ha, astrology is always right. People who have an anaretic rising have a sense of melancholy that accompanies every new beginning in their life. Every time something new starts, they think about how it's going to end. And because of their unique struggles in this lifetime, they're going to become really empathetic, really compassionate people who bring people together once they're able to integrate their own struggles with who they really are and accept that their life story is something that they were destined to go through. I know that Justin specifically is like a really God person. I think him, Hailey, and Selena all like went to Hillsong services together. Okay. And I don't know, like I'm not that up on Christianity. Like I don't really know how they feel about like destiny and fate and stuff, but he has a faith, so like probably he understands that. I don't really know. It seems more like a cult than a religion to me. Justin's rising is conjunct his Pluto and North Node, which are both also in his first house of Scorpio. When someone has Pluto conjunct any of their angles, they have a strong urge to want power while at the same time wanting a lot of privacy. I feel like that is a very Justin Bieber thing. These people don't expect the world to be a safe place, and they go into the world being really concerned with their own survival. It's like they go out into the world with a desire to hide. These are people who might have had a lot of attention early in their lives, but found that the level of attention and of being watched was crippling the development of their personal authority, which cause this desire to want to hide and this feeling that the world is unsafe and that they're constantly going around potentially stepping on landmines, which tracks so well with just like Justin being a child star, being like herded and assaulted and harassed by fans when he was a teenager, when he was like a preteen, even when he was like 13 years old. And, you know, allegedly being sexually assaulted by Diddy. Just all of the hardships that he went through as such a young child. I don't give Justin a complete pass for anything bad that he does, but I completely understand where all of his like hurt comes from, because that's terrible. Like to go through all of that when you're a teenager, like I just can't, no therapy would ever be enough. So this theme in his life, like this just feels, it doesn't even just feel, this is a very karmic position. One, to have an anaretic degree, but two, to have the North Node and Pluto on it. Difficult, very, very difficult life. And, you know, one of his challenges in this lifetime, one of the things that he has to do in this lifetime is accept that he's not going to have an easy life and make peace with it and just find ways that he himself can find tranquility. Having his North Node conjunct his ascendant has positive and negative aspects. The positive side is that his destiny in this life is like closely aligned with who he is. If you were like playing a video game, the avatar that you chose would be like your rising sign. It's like who you appear to the world to be. So having your destiny and how you appear in the world being linked is a good thing. You know, it's like you don't have to feel like you're not being true to yourself in order to achieve your destiny. However, because it's difficult for people to achieve their North Node, their destiny, and it's outside their comfort zone and it's a challenge, that means that even existing as himself feels like a challenge. It's all like, even just these three placements, like they tell such a story, which is crazy, and it fits so well with his life, but he probably just doesn't feel super comfortable in his own skin. And maybe that's why he constantly wears like giant baggy clothes while Hailey wears like pretty perfect dresses, and they always look like they're going to different events. Because his North Node is in his first house, that means that he needs to move towards caring about himself. He needs to move towards independence and self-awareness and trusting his own impulses and having courage related to his own actions and having constructive self-interest and self-nurturance and self-care and just like believing in himself and trusting himself and not doing things because other people want him to do them. But he is naturally drawn in the direction of his South Node in his 7th house of Taurus, which wants him to be a people pleaser. It wants him to see himself through other people's eyes and be selfless to a fault and be Mr. Nice Guy and have an obsessive attachment to like fairness and justice and codependence and having like a tit for tat mentality. Those are the things that he is really naturally drawn to, but they're the things that he needs to stop doing in order to achieve his destiny. And his destiny is really like believing in himself. He needs to be the number one believer. It's interesting though how similar this is to Selena, like how tied their destinies are, because the 7th house and the 11th house are the two houses that deal with other people. And so the 1st house and the 5th house, which their North Nodes are in, have very similar goals in this lifetime. They both need to stop being people pleasers. They both need to learn how to define themselves through themselves alone. They both need to learn how to not seek things that they feel they need through other people and realize how to develop those qualities in themselves. And so I think that their relationship was extremely fated. Like it's a very, very karmic relationship. I don't think they're meant to be. I don't think that it was probably a great relationship, but it had to happen. They both grew a lot through it. Like Selena, Justin also has one of his luminaries in the 12th house. The luminaries are the sun and the moon. But whereas Selena has her sun in her 12th house, Justin has his moon in his 12th house of Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus and is the sign that is most concerned with harmony and justice and fairness. So people who have Libra moons have a tendency naturally to be people pleasers. Once again, another part of this pattern. On the positive side, they have all of the influences from Venus. So they really like beauty, and they love to create art, and they love to be peaceful, and they draw contentment from balance and stillness and peace. On the negative side, they have a really strong fear of confrontation. And so Justin's like fights or fist fights with people or whatever he does, there's like a theory that he fist fought Orlando Bloom over either Miranda Kerr or Selena Gomez, but I don't even know how that would have happened or why. But you can see that these are things that are challenging to him. Like they're not who he is. And I feel like it's really easy to beat up on people after they do something that's like not great. But he's one of those people who beats up on himself way more than we ever could. It's sort of like I do this too, like punishing himself for his actions. And then like when everyone else is punishing him for those same actions, he's like, guys, I already did that. Like, it's so frustrating. It's like, trust me, I'm harder on myself than you ever could be. They can have a hard time standing up for what they believe in because they don't value standing up for their beliefs as much as they value being liked by everyone. And standing up for your beliefs, obviously, can cause people to not like you. But this causes them to morph into someone who is dishonest, and it can be confusing for the people around them, family and friends, people who love them and are like, you're like not being yourself, because instead of trying to be their authentic selves, they've tried to be what they think other people want them to be. This is really just a long-winded way to say Libra moons are people pleasers. But these people do feel really content when they have tranquility, when they have peace, when they are creating art, when they are designing, when they're doing things that are beautiful. So I'm like, at least Justin has his art. Like, at least he has his songwriting. But then he puts out a song like Yummy, and I'm like, just kidding. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't have his art. People who have moon in the 12th house are extremely sensitive. The world is so noisy, and all you want is quiet and stillness. So these people like to like live inside their heads. These are people who are drawn to spirituality and meditation. They are communicated with through dreams. Their subconscious communicates with their conscious mind through dreams. And they need to pay attention to their dreams because this is where they will learn a lot of information. But these people feel like they're misunderstood. Like there's a whole part of themselves. Your moon is really like the essence of you, like who you naturally, innately are. It's your intuition. And that's behind the scenes in these people. Other people can't really see it. So they feel misunderstood. They're like, no one really understands who I really am because who you really are is tucked behind the scenes in the 12th house. So people just don't get you, and that can be really frustrating. Justin also has a retrograde Mercury, just like Selena, and it's conjunct his Mars in Aquarius. My Mars in Aquarius example in my Mars episode was Drake, once again, and my Mars in the 4th house, where Justin's is, example, was Megan Thee Stallion. And having Mars in the 4th house is a really strong indicator that you had a tough upbringing, a tough childhood, which we saw because he was raised by a single teenage mother. But because Justin is a Scorpio rising, Mars is his chart ruler. So his Mars placement in Aquarius, where he wants to be different from other people, he will fight to be different from other people, he will fight to be unique, and fights by becoming the most detached. Mars in Aquarius is like, I'm so above this situation, I can't even believe you care this much about it. That is like a big part of who he is. It shows up in everything in his life. People who have Mercury in Aquarius, like Justin, have beautiful and inventive minds. They have an easy time staying objective and thinking outside the box. So they easily come up with like inventive ideas and original perspectives. However, they tend to be confrontational for fun, which is different than his Libra moon, but might explain some of his outbursts. They tend to, want to stir up drama just to see what happens, and they need to try to not do that. But interestingly, there is a trine, which is a supportive aspect between his moon and this Mercury-Mars conjunction, which actually leads me to think that maybe he stirs up this press in order to protect his personal life. Like maybe we see this a lot with celebrities, like maybe he makes up stories, this alleged fist fight with him and Orlando Bloom, in order for the press to cover something that's not actually something real or something that he cares about, so that he can live his private life and not have the press digging into that because they're being fed with content to put out to people. So that is Justin Bieber, and now I want to look at his synastry with Selena Gomez. This is their synastry chart. It looks really crazy, but there's a lot of good, and there's about a similar amount of bad. So we'll go through it, but first I want to do a quick timeline overview of their relationship. So Selena and Justin started out as friends, and in February 2010, Selena said in an interview with MTV News, "I feel like a big sister now because I want to protect him. So I'm always very cautious with him, but he is so talented and he's so sweet. So that just started us wanting to work together. Now he's become one of my good friends." And then in December 2010, Selena at age 18 and Justin at age 16 were first caught cuddling at IHOP, and they later claimed it was just pancakes. And then, like a month later, on September 1st, 2011, Justin and Selena are seen kissing on New Year's Eve in St. Lucia. In February 2011, they made their red carpet debut at Vanity Fair's Oscars parties. Their photos coined the term Jelena, and there are a lot of fan meltdowns. They broke up for the first time in November 2012, and then in July 2014, this alleged fist fight with Orlando Bloom happens over Miranda Kerr or Selena Gomez. Once again, isn't Orlando Bloom so much older than them? Like, I just don't even know how this is happening. But it's an alleged fist fight. Like, I don't think there's actual proof that it happened. So it might just be stirring up press so that he and Selena can exist behind the scenes and, you know, do their own thing. In November 2014, Justin unfollows Selena on Instagram and is first linked with Hailey Baldwin. But then in late 2015, photos emerge of Justin serenading Selena at a Beverly Hills hotel after her split with Zedd with his song Sorry, which is rumored to be about her, and the Temptations' My Girl. Romantic. And then like 1 month later in January 2016, Hailey and Justin have a kiss. They kiss on New Year's at Leonardo DiCaprio's New Year's party in St. Bart's. He has a pattern, and then they confirmed that they're dating later that month in January. Hailey and Justin have an explosive breakup in February of that year, and then in August 2016, Justin and Selena get in a little bit of an Instagram war. Justin posts a series of pictures with his then girlfriend, Sophia Richie, who he was dating for only about 6 weeks. And Jelena fans revolted and were like, "Why are you with her?" Justin threatens to delete his whole Instagram. These people they're like young, it's fine, but they're so dramatic. So Selena comments, "If you can't handle the hate, then stop posting pictures of your girlfriend, LOL. It should be special between you two only. Don't be mad at your fans. They love you and supported you before anyone ever did." Like, okay, girl, can we, like, this doesn't feel like your business. It's not about you. It's about Sophia Richie. They went back and forth. They accused each other of cheating, and then Justin deleted his Instagram and Selena apologized on Snapchat. 2016 was a crazy time. 1 year later, in October 2017, Justin and Selena are seen having breakfast together mere days before her breakup with The Weeknd is announced. They start texting nonstop. They're seen attending church together. They're hanging out whenever they can. And then in November 2017, a source confirms that they're dating again. In March 2018, there are rumors that they have broken up after they're seen leaving a Hillsong service separately. That damn church, always in the center of this. And then summer of that year, Hailey and Justin get engaged, and in September 2018, they get married. So when I looked at their synastry chart, one of the first things I noticed was that Selena's moon in Aries is conjunct Justin's Lilith, also in Aries. We talked a little bit about Lilith earlier, but as a refresher, it's our shadow sides. It's the dark moon. But it's very hard to look at your shadow side, and because this Lilith opposes Justin's moon in Libra, it's hard for him. It feels like antithetical to his essence to be able to look at his shadow side. Selena's moon in Aries, so the true essence of like who she really is, offers Justin this chance to look at his own shadow side so that he can grow. And so clearly this relationship was really impactful for Justin. It probably let himself look at a lot of his shadow. However, I would think that one of the reasons it ended was because that was too hard for him. Selena's moon in Aries also opposes Justin's moon in Libra. So this is challenging. Like opposite signs, like I was talking about earlier, they're not opposites, like they're not diametrically opposed. Opposite signs in astrology specifically share the same gender. Air is opposite fire, and those are both male signs. Earth is opposite water. Those are both female signs. But so the axis that their moons are on, this Aries Libra axis, is once again the me, us, me, you axis. And so it's a push and pull between Selena being naturally disposed to work on herself and fight for herself and have all of the Aries energy of like initiating things. And then Justin's moon of being in partnership, like wanting to have harmony and be together and not necessarily like rock the boat that much. They have some positive aspects. Justin's ascendant in Scorpio makes an exact trine to Selena's sun in Cancer. So these two anaretic placements, they support each other. A trine is a supportive aspect. So once again, this shows that they are able to help each other on their journeys, and both partners are attracted to each other and feel great mutual admiration. Justin has an exalted Venus in Pisces, which makes a trine to Selena's Pluto in Scorpio. This shows that Justin has a warmth that complements Selena's strength. He can see a light at the bottom of her well. She invites him to change his personality for the better and climb out of his internal hell to the simplicity of self-recognition. So this is an aspect that's also correlated with significant mutual growth, which I think is a really strong theme of their relationship. As they grow together, Selena becomes aware of the power of love, which Justin, the Venus person, can show her. And then Justin sees the light of love at the top of this really dark well of Plutonian depth. And then one more positive aspect, there is actually not that much. Justin's Mercury in Aquarius makes a sextile to Selena's moon in Aries. So there's free and easy communication in the relationship. Selena, the moon partner, is passionate, while Justin comes from a place that is more rational, more mercurial. This is a great aspect for a successful relationship because Justin can understand and take in Selena's feelings while providing a solid and rational foundation for them to construct something that makes sense and isn't just like the moon, like changing all the time. But now we get to the negative. So Justin has his Mars in Aquarius and it squares Selena's Mars in Taurus. This is extra difficult because these are both fixed signs. A lot of their aspects occur in fixed signs. And so they're already challenging. Aquarius is a masculine air sign and Taurus is a feminine earth sign. They already just don't get along, but they're also fixed. And no one's more stubborn than a Taurus, but Aquariuses are also quite stubborn. So they just can't mix. It's a battle of egos. And Selena's whole thing in this life is that she has to develop her ego in a healthy way, meaning her ego is not developed in a healthy way. That's her journey in this lifetime. And so she can't be battling egos with someone and learn to integrate her ego in a healthy way. This is not the relationship where she's going to be able to do that. This aspect can exist in a long-term relationship if you want it to, but there will always be like a little bit of an undercurrent of like irritability or resentment. It's not a relationship that I would want to be in for a long time. Justin's rising in Scorpio also opposes Selena's Mars in Taurus, which causes people to be sexually attracted to each other. A lot of these like negative aspects are like you want to fuck. You are naturally drawn to each other and you want to get in her pants immediately. However, things will be bad for you. It causes a relationship that at best can be teasing and at worst is like outright combative. The dynamic would be that the Mars person, Selena, would, constantly assert herself in the relationship, and the ascendant person, Justin, would feel uncomfortable asserting himself in the relationship because he feels like she likes to take charge and he doesn't want to challenge her on that. So he feels like he can't really be himself in the relationship. Once again, leads to an ego struggle. Not really a great thing for either of them. And then finally, Justin's Pluto is also opposite Selena's Mars because it's conjunct his rising. Another aspect, anytime Mars is in a difficult aspect, one of these red lines, a square or an opposition, it's going to cause an ego struggle. It's not going to be pretty. It's probably not going to be a great relationship. This aspect causes a tense relationship. Selena pushes Justin to try to realize that everything, if he wants a true new start, everything has to change. And then he would resent this. He would be like, what are you talking about? Why are you telling me what I have to change in my life? And then start to feel like the relationship only offers him harsh punishment and treatment. So once again, sexually intense relationship, but also leads to a lot of resentment between partners. So these aspects, especially the ones to Mars and to Pluto, shows why they were on again, off again for so long. They are naturally drawn to each other. They do have a lot of sexual chemistry, but every time they got back together, they would remember why they broke up in the first place. They would remember that their egos clash and they can't both be happy in a relationship, which is why they broke up sooner and sooner every time, at the end being together for a month. And then we get to Hailey, Baldwin, Bieber. So Justin and Hailey first met at a Today Show meet and greet in November 2009 when Hailey was 13 and Justin was 15, because her dad, Alec Baldwin's brother, and his mom were friends, and they arranged the meet and greet. In May 2011, Hailey tweeted, "I don't care what anyone says, but Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez together is the definition of a teenage dream. #word." Several months later, in September 2011, she tweets, "I'm for sure 100% team #Jelena." And then in January 2012, she tweets at Justin, "Can we just talk about your hair for a second? #it looks really good." So Hailey has always been a believer, though she will deny it. She has. On November 10th, 2014, they saw each other at a Hillsong church service for the first time since then. So it's been 5 years since the Today Show. And apparently, allegedly, he says to her, "Wow, you grew up." And she was like, "Haha, yeah." And after that, they started hanging out and became the best of friends. Justin loves a friends to lovers storyline. And then New Year's 2015, going into 2016, they share a kiss at Leo's New Year's party in St. Bart's, and everyone freaks out. They publicly acknowledge their relationship in February 2016 and deny being exclusive, then apparently have an explosive breakup, but then a little bit over 2 years later, they get back together in June 2018. Oh, they get back together following a church conference in Miami. Hailey says, "The common denominator, I promise you, is always church." Who cares? You belong to a cult celebrity church. It's basically Scientology. And then in July, they get engaged. Justin posts about it on his Instagram on July 9th. And then in September 2018, they move in together. And they talk about being in couples therapy to adjust to living together, which I don't oppose. I definitely could have used couples therapy when my ex-boyfriend and I moved in together, but I also could have used knowing that I was a lesbian at that time as well. And then on September 13th, 2018, they get married. On May 2nd, 2022, Justin told Ebro Darden in an interview, quote, "I remember when I first got married, I hit a little bit of an emotional breakdown because I thought marriage was going to fix all of my problems, and it didn't. Many such cases. It just kind of was a reflection of man, you're a bit of a hypocrite, man. You want your wife to do something you're not doing, and it's hard sometimes to look in the mirror and really have to realize, man, maybe you're not the person that you necessarily thought that you were. And that's just a result of trauma and life circumstances." What have I been saying? And then on May 9th, 2024, they announced that they're expecting a baby. And on August 23rd, 2024, they announced the birth of their baby, Jack Blues Bieber, following the Bieber family tradition of giving kids JB initials. So Justin and Hailey were linked throughout his relationship with Selena, though Hailey denies that they were ever together at the same time or while Justin was with anyone else. Most of Justin and Hailey's synastry isn't great. I think it's worse than his synastry with Selena. So once again, I don't think that this marriage is meant to last forever either, but we will start with the positive. The most striking aspect, which isn't necessarily good or bad, is that Hailey's sun at 0 degrees, Sagittarius, is very closely conjunct Justin's rising at 29 degrees Scorpio. Shocking, Hailey Baldwin Bieber also has multiple anaretic and 0 degree placements in her chart. These people are just so karmically linked. When you have a relationship where sun is conjunct ascendant, it's a relationship where both people feel attracted to each other and have great admiration for each other. Hailey might even want to be more like Justin, while Justin admires Hailey for her life's purpose. This is actually a really good aspect for marriage because they both reinforce each other's self-esteem and self-expression. Justin's rising at the end of Scorpio is also very closely trine Hailey's Saturn at the very beginning of Aries, which is a good aspect for a stable and long-lasting relationship. Justin has great respect for Hailey. it's her Saturn. So it's really showing her determination and her goal-orientedness and her process, and the supportive trine between his ascendant, like who he is, and her Saturn is like, wow, I really appreciate all of her goals. And I think that her ability to set and achieve long-term goals would be able to help me, and I would be able to help her do that. And Hailey, being the Saturn person, can help Justin be more confident, mature, and organized, and help him accomplish his goals as well. The only problem with this aspect in a relationship is that it can make it a little bit boring. It does bear noting that Saturn is going to move into Aquarius this year on May 24th, so Hailey is about to have her first Saturn return. Saturn is going to be exactly conjunct her Saturn 3 times. It's going to first hit it on June 4th of this year. Then it's going to go to a certain point and then start retrograding backwards. It goes back into Pisces. So it's going to hit her Saturn again on August 20th of this year. And then we'll eventually turn around and move back into Aries, saying goodbye to Pisces for the next 30 years. And we'll hit her Saturn for the last time on February 20th, 2026. And her Saturn, 1, is at 0 degrees, so very significant in her chart. 2 is in her 4th house. It's actually exactly conjunct her IC, her root. And so this is going to be challenges around her family. I would not be surprised if this is a divorce. I would not be surprised if it's another pregnancy that is difficult in some way. I would keep an eye on Justin Hailey news later this year. The last positive aspect in their synastry chart is that Justin's Jupiter in Scorpio makes a sextile to Hailey's Jupiter in Capricorn. This is important because Jupiter is Hailey's chart ruler as a Sagittarius rising. So it really is like who she is. Like her Jupiter impacts everything in her life. And if her Jupiter was negatively aspected with Justin's, then their relationship just wouldn't work. Jupiter is Zeus. It's like law and philosophy. So this indicates that their beliefs and their morals and their ethics are aligned with each other, which means that they can have a long-lasting, healthy relationship if they want to, if they choose to, if they overcome all their negative synastry. Glad to know they've got the same thing going on. They both belong to the same cult church, so I didn't have too many questions about it, but good to confirm it. And then we move on to the negative. Justin's Sun in Pisces is opposite Hailey's Mars in Virgo, which is a battle of the egos position. Yay. The difference between this and him and Selena's aspects, though, is that those are in fixed signs, whereas Pisces and Virgo are both mutable signs. A little bit of chameleons, like they can change. So it's less aggressive than having it in 2 fixed signs, but it's still a placement that's going to cause a battle of the egos. I feel like this does show up in their first breakup being explosive, and then being in couples therapy to adjust to living together, and then Justin's frustrations about marriage not solving all of his problems. It really is sort of like, I don't know, I think everyone expected marriage to solve all their problems at some point, and then you just have to learn that it doesn't. I think it's just a descriptor of like a little bit of a juvenile view on marriage and relationships, but we will see if they're able to overcome all of the like fighting that this aspect entails. Justin's Sun in Pisces also squares Hailey's Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury rules communication, so having a square, which is a difficult aspect between these two, indicates that these people have a hard time understanding each other, especially with Justin having his Mercury be retrograde and probably having a problem with feeling misunderstood his whole entire life. I don't think that he wants to be in a relationship where communication feels hard with his Libra Moon and his like inherent desire for peace and tranquility. I think that he's going to want to end up with someone who has like a really positive Mercury aspect with him. So this is a little bit like, I don't really think that's going to work long term. And then Justin's Saturn in Pisces squares Hailey's Pluto in Sagittarius, which is probably their toughest aspect. And it indicates a struggle for power and authority. One or both of them have had bad trust issues in the past and are now experiencing the natural consequences of mistrust. And the problem with this is that they probably blame each other. This is an aspect that can be overcome if you have 2 really mature people who don't blame each other for things, who realize the amount that they project, who realize that the problem is outside the relationship, or it's inside the relationship, but it's inside yourself, and it's something that you yourself have to work on. I just don't think that two people who clearly aren't healed can have this aspect in a relationship and like have it go super well. I think that you need to do your own thing, and you need to heal yourself and really self-actualize first, and then maybe this could work out. And just a quick look at Hailey's birth chart alone before I move into Benny and Selena and wrap things up, because I want to look at her critical degree placements. She has an anaretic Venus at the 29th degree of Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, so it is Venus in domicile, so it has that positive going for it. But her lifetime will have a big focus on learning about relationships and self-worth and how those intertwine. People with this placement can be either too dependent on others or avoid love altogether. Once again, anaretic placements have a hard time finding balance. In her life, she will experience a crisis, an ending, or a karmic event that is meant to help her understand her values, her needs, and her desires, potentially in her Saturn return. Libra is her 11th house, so this will probably have something to do with her friends, her community, or, since she's a public figure, her fans. I think that this will probably manifest as something happening where her fans turn on her, like, completely, and that makes her really change the way that she's been living. She also has her sun at 0 degrees, which is also a placement that Monica Lewinsky has. So it's just adding like a little bit of Aries energy to the sun. It's like a sun that wants to start things, and her sun is in Sagittarius, so a fire sign as well. Wants to start things, wants to get things going, wants to heat things up. And then her Saturn is also at 0 degrees of Aries, which sets the stage for a structured and disciplined approach to life. Like someone with Saturn at 0 degrees, I think Ariana Grande also has this placement. They know what their long-term goals are, and they know how they're going to achieve them, and they just do it. And I think that her relationship with Justin, I don't know her. I don't particularly like her, but I feel like she is not necessarily using him, but like she knows what she wants and she's going to get it. And maybe what she wants is Justin, maybe what she wants is fame, maybe what she wants is a child. I don't know, but she knows what she wants and she's getting it. And I feel like that is something that has kept her with Justin. I know there's like so much talk about like he disrespects her and like he didn't hold the door for her. And I think if she is experiencing that as disrespect, and that is something that permeates their relationship and isn't just how he acts in public, I think that the reason she's staying with it is because she has a larger plan and she is on the right path, and breaking up with him would put her on the wrong path in her mind. And then we have Benny Blanco. On December 7th, 2023, Selena confirmed that she and Benny were dating in Instagram comments on other people's Instagram posts, and replied to fans who questioned the relationship saying, "Then why has he been the best thing that's ever happened to me? The end." She is such a Leo Mercury and a Leo rising. And she also said, quote, "I don't understand. If you actually care about me, this is my happiest. If you don't, feel free to say whatever you want. But I will never allow your words to guide my life. Ever. I'm done. If you can't accept me at my happiest, then don't be in my life at all." Like, okay. I get it. I really do. And she says in another comment that they've been dating for 6 months at that point, which would put their starting date at like June 2023, whatever that means. Who knows? On January 2nd, 2024, Benny posts Selena on his Instagram for the first time, and they become Instagram official. And then on December 11th, 2024, Selena and Benny announced that they are engaged. And then on February 13th, 2025, they announced that they are releasing a joint album called I Said I Love You First. And then this album was released on March 21st, 2025. And I do just want to remind everyone that this is a man who does toenail art and who had someone paint his toenails to resemble Persian rugs and even added fringe. And maybe that's for some people, but it's really not for me. Also, listening to this album about his like big hard cock or whatever made me at least 25% more heterophobic. So if you are upset by my heterophobia comments earlier, you can take it out on Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. Please address all hate mail to them. I also learned while researching this episode that Benny Blanco's from my hometown. I hate that, honestly. Benny Blanco was born on March 8th, 1988, time unknown, don't know his rising sign, in Reston, Virginia, which is uncomfortably close to where I was born. He is a Pisces sun. He has his moon in Scorpio, very closely conjunct his Pluto, scary, and we don't know his rising sign. That's all I really have to say about that. I don't care too much about what's going on with them. His sun in Pisces trines Selena's Pluto in Scorpio, which is a positive aspect. It's the bright light of Benny's sun shines on Selena's Pluto to reveal the depths of her person, to help her realize her hidden power. I think that's like the core of this relationship. I think that's its main purpose in her life. I think she will regret doing so much publicity about it when its real true purpose was to let her see parts of herself that she hasn't seen before and develop more of her own strength. They will grind their natural talents and get stronger together, and Selena will bring Benny to the greatest heights, which I think is pretty obviously happening. His fame score, she bought his way onto the front cover of People's Sexiest Man Alive issue. Like, no, ew. Why would you do that? This is a transformative partnership because Pluto energy is raw and all about transformation, and Benny's support, the light from his sun, can help her to achieve that. Benny also has this Uranus-Saturn conjunction. I feel so stupid saying this. Can we call him Ben? Can we call him Benjamin? Benny's has a Uranus-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn that is conjunct Selena's North Node in Sagittarius, beginning end sort of deal. He has Uranus, which is innovation and chaos and change, and Saturn, which is boundaries. So he helps her, and her North Node is her destiny. So he is able to help her achieve her destiny by giving her structure, Saturn, and fresh perspectives, new ideas, out of the box thinking. The last positive aspect they have is that Selena's Jupiter in Virgo is sextile Benny's Pluto in Scorpio, which is sort of like a free money aspect. Like, this is a really good business partnership aspect. So maybe their album is a good idea. Maybe they just wanted to make some money. I don't know. It seems embarrassing to me, but I am a lesbian and I'm embarrassed about any sort of publicity around a man. These people are both able to show each other that by getting rid of what they don't need, they are able to make room for what they do need, and then that will come into their lives. So it's a very beneficial partnership. I just don't think it's necessarily needs to be romantic. And then there's a whole bunch of negative aspects. This episode is honestly longer than I intended it to be. I did a lot of research for this episode. The first one is that Selena's sun in Cancer is square Benny's Jupiter, which is on like the cusp of Aries and Taurus. It's an aspect that indicates significant differences in ideology, and this is me banging on Selena's door again and again. You did this way too soon. You rushed into things. You literally have Saturn in your 7th house. It's a problem for a long-term relationship. It shows that you have differences in your values and your philosophies and your morals and your ethics, and that can work in a short-term relationship. It can work in a situationship, but when you have a long-term relationship, when you start thinking about children and how you raise them, it doesn't work because you want different things in your life. You don't have aligned belief systems. Selena's Venus in Leo also makes a square to Benny's Pluto in Scorpio. Fixed signs, can't budge, not going to work. Venus feels everything that Pluto can't see because Pluto is very like intangible. And so it's hard for Selena to deal with this relationship because Benny's Pluto intensity tends to knock her off balance. The more times that Selena tries to change Benny, the more she loses herself in the relationship. So the relationship is likely to cause spiritual growth if it doesn't cause extreme spiritual damage, and is not meant to be long-term in any way, shape, or form. And then finally, Selena has her Pluto in Scorpio square Benny's Mercury in Aquarius, which indicates a relationship that has frequent fights. It's like these two people both want to express themselves, but their self-expression, because it's a square, are in different elements and different genders of signs, so they just can't really get along. So they end up, bringing out the worst sides of each other. And that's not what you want in a relationship at all, but especially in a long-term relationship, you need to bring out the best sides of each other. So once again, probably not a long-lasting relationship, but certainly a relationship that she needed, that will be beneficial to her life. And I'm so glad that she is happy, if she is actually happy and not just saying that because she's a Leo Mercury. Very Sydney Sweeney on Euphoria vibes. I have never, ever been happier. And then I did a little analysis on Hailey and Selena's synastry together because they have a little history of their own. Who here remembers Eyebrowgate? And all I can say is that they should definitely kiss. Like, these two have way better synastry than they have with any of these men. They're both hot. Like, they're both hot ladies. I think that they should kiss. Maybe this whole thing is just a cover up for Selena and Hailey's budding romance. That is the fanfic in my mind. But to wrap this up, I just want to give you a couple of dates to look forward to. So coming up, we have Hailey's Saturn return, which is exact on June 4th of this year, August 20th of this year, and then February 20th of next year, 2026. Selena's moon is going to progress to 0 degrees in October, November 2026, which is an important, like an emotional new beginning for her. It happens every like 2.5 to 3 years, and it represents a new emotional beginning for you. Justin's Venus is going to progress to the next sign on September 21st, 2025. And in January 2026, his moon is also going to progress to the next sign. So between September and January of this year, next year, I think that we'll also get some Justin news. And since it's Venus, it's related to love. I am really feeling like a breakup could happen. Breakup or difficult pregnancy with problems will happen for Hailey and Justin later this year. And if it comes true, then everyone should book me for psychic readings because clearly I can see the future. Okay, I love you very much. This is way too long. I don't actually care this much about these people, but it is really fun to see astrology be proven right again and again. If you have any questions, if you have any requests for future episodes, any celebrities you want to know more about, feel free to send me a DM. I am checking Instagram again. I hate to say it, at popstrologypod. Or you can also send me an email at popstrology@proton.me. And you can also check out my website, popstrologypod.com, where you can book a reading, a individual birth chart reading, a synastry reading, whatever you want. I'm here for you. Please support me as I don't have a job. Okay, I love you. Goodbye.